Welcome to the club, 'cause you're that kind of nerd.
Hello, and welcome to the club. This is That Kind of Nerd, a show where we talk about the nerdy things we're passionate about and judge each other on what we bring to the table. I'm your host this week, Josh Burns, and I'm joined by Brian Thornton and CJ Mellon.
What up?
I refuse to say hello under protest, as Josh should not be hosting this week, and CJ just sucks at hosting and cast this.
You know, a little salty. All right.
I couldn't say it last week for fear of losing points, but I could say it. Well, not last week, 3 weeks ago, but now I can say it. This is an unceremonious win.
Wow.
Well, since relaunching the best nerdy podcast on planet Earth, we have a new show format. At the end of each topic, I'll be judging the conversation and awarding points to my co-hosts. I may be also judging them throughout. The winner at the end of the show will be the host next week. So I have a topic that can wait if one of you has something you're burning to discuss.
Yes, Josh, I have a topic that I think we just need to open up with. And by the sound that Brian just made, I think maybe his topic
Probably
as well.
The same topic.
Which
I got
is
backup topics just in case.
Good, because we need to talk about what's going on with HBO, DC, Discovery Plus, this whole drama surrounding everything going on, particularly within the DCEU, the DC universe, whatever the hell we're calling it nowadays. Because Batgirl is now basically almost done, right? They spent over $90 million on it. Oh, is it done?
Yeah,
okay.
They canned it.
$90 million, and they're canning it as a tax write-off. Ezra Miller's been running up a crime spree that you only see in GTA. And now they're maybe finally going to be talking about it, about maybe we should do something about this movie. Maybe we should do something about the fact that our star is completely problematic and they're doing all this crazy shit. And the real question right now is what is going to happen, right? What do you do? So I would love to see this because Brian is so in conversations with Warner Brothers, as we know. And Josh, you are a better studio executive than anyone that ever worked at Warner Brothers. I want to open up this topic. However, as we also know, I am a buffoon and an idiot. Hi, how are you? So instead of hearing from me and a plan that we could use for the DCEU, I have a listener who called in and left us a message with their plan for the DCEU. So if you wouldn't mind, I will share our callers' thoughts. Brian and Josh would love to get your thoughts on this as well. And then we can open up to what you guys would do if you were in charge of Warner Brothers and time to save DC.
Yep, let's hear it.
Hello, everybody. My name's Austin Winchester. I've been listening to this podcast for quite some time. Last night, CJ and I were talking over Twitter about how the DCEU is an absolute shambles and how they're throwing everything away. An idea that I have to hopefully use a little bit of what came before, pay homage to everything that came before, is a Batman Beyond TV show, live action on HBO Max. I think that we could get Michael Keaton to play Old Man Bruce, training a new up-and-coming actor playing Terry McGinnis. Now, first few seasons, we'd get it up off the ground, establish the story, but in about 5 years, we would have a big event just like the CW shows do. That big event brings in who else but the JOU. And who runs the JOU? Who's leading it? Henry Cavill as Superman. He gets the gray hair on the side, supposed to be the same age as Bruce, but looks more like he's 40, 45. I think it's perfect. I think there's a lot that they can do with it. And of course, I know that Brian is nonstop reaching out to DC, reaching out to Warner Brothers, now Discovery. I think this is something that we could do. Get Brian somewhere in that room, somewhere talking. Idea. I want to hear who you guys have to maybe play some other actors within this. Maybe some members of the JOU, some other main actors that'll play in the regular TV show. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much.
Do you want to go first, Josh, or should I?
No, I'll go. I think it is a good idea. I think that Keaton's too old at this point to play Old Man Bruce. But I love the introduction of Henry Cavill. I think it's a lofty plan, thinking you'll get to 5 years and to bring in a big event. I think maybe probably 2 or 3 would be more reasonable, and also provide a kick to the show that it's going to need by then. Cavill, I'm on record saying Cavill should be Superman all the time. I don't understand why we would look anywhere else. Regarding other people in the JLU, honestly, I'd like to see Grant Gustin stay Flash at this point. Like, they just haven't had any luck with anybody else playing Flash, and beyond that, like, I don't really have a huge opinion. Ryan Reynolds is Green Lantern, fine. If they want to use Hal Jordan, otherwise, use whoever you want. I don't have a preference. And Supergirl, sure. Melissa Benoist, fine. I think it's a really easy way to infuse some of the good parts from the CW shows. I think you can use most of them, actually, without really being detrimental to what this project might be, because it's going to start out as a series, and you don't need crazy solid acting chops, Stephen Amell, to be in a series. Right? You can just be good for the role itself, and be more of a professional wrestling fan than an actor. And you can be just fine. So, like, those are my
fail this city.
Yeah, I those are my thoughts. I don't. This is a seriously pie in the sky type idea. Could it work? Yeah, sure. But I think it might be rooted too much in logic to be something that gets actually greenlit. So, like, I like the idea. And I think that we can do a lot of cool stuff with it. Especially like the Batman Beyond animated is cool. JLU's cool. Give me anything DC animated over anything Marvel animated all day. So like, that's putting it in live action in show format makes sense. Some of the casting choices, fine. And I think there should be some introduction of up and comers, and I think you can do that with a series. And again, I don't think you need Michael Keaton. And frankly, I think if you get Michael Keaton, this isn't a show that goes for multiple years. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, so I'm going to be the guy. That's fine. I'll be the guy. I don't care for the idea. I'm sorry, Austin. So Austin, first off, I do appreciate how you point out how hard I'm working with Warner Brothers, but now that they got known by Discovery, I'm also trying to get one of those HGTV stars to come in and redo my house. So it's a give and take. Like, hey, can you do the bathroom? I'll give you some tips on Aquaman, type of thing. But what I will say is, I think to Josh's point, as pie in the sky scenario as it would be, we're too far gone. We've gone round the bend. It doesn't work. And the fact of the matter is, this Batgirl movie was supposed to be exactly what you're suggesting. Instead of Terry McGinnis, though, we were going to have Barbara. It was going to be not a neo-futuristic Gotham, but Gotham set in the future. Older Batman taking Batgirl under his wing. It was supposed to be a Batman Beyond storyline. We scrapped it. We scrapped it not for multiple reasons. Here's the thing about what's going on with Discovery Media and Warner Media right now. They're scrapping projects left and right. They're removing stuff from the streaming service. They're firing and laying off people. As with any big mergers, obviously layoffs happen. But they're canceling all of these projects, no matter where they're at. Batgirl was done. It maybe needed another month in the editing room, but it was done. It was ready. They were at the test screening phase, which means we're going to test screen. We'll do another pass or two with edits, and then we'll release it. They canceled it. They canceled it for a multitude of reasons. They claimed that the test screenings weren't going well. They claimed that it wasn't good. And if that's really the reason, then I'm fully behind that. I don't want you at DC at this point right now. You can't release trash. You just can't. With everything going on right now, your releases need to be at least decent, if not great, right? You can't release a piece of trash film and just tarnish this brand even more. You also, the other claim that they're making is we only are interested in doing DC on the big screen, which I say, no, that's just BS. Certain characters, streaming is fine. Disney has figured that out. as much as I loved Moon Knight, he's not a big screen movie,
Nope.
but he works perfectly in a 6-episode series.
Yep.
And we love it. Miss Marvel, same thing. Even though she is going to show up, like you introduce some of these characters, Moon Knight's going to show up on the big screen, but you've done his like story already, right? Same thing with Miss Marvel. There are certain characters that like you just can't do in a big screen. So I think that's a BS reason, and I don't think they're thinking it through. I do think that they're doing it for a tax write-off, and that's really the main reason at the end of the day. Is what's happening is, and the thing that really sold it to me is the fact that they're removing things from streaming. Things that are actually popular, they're removing from HBO Max. Things that have a following. And they're removing them for a tax write-off to claim that we took a loss on these things this year. They're removing them so they don't have to pay loyalties to any actors or creators because they're trying to cut costs. They're trying to save like $3 billion before the end of the quarter or something ridiculous like that. And layoffs just won't cut it. So they need to cut projects. You will never see this Batgirl movie. Not unless someone leaks it somewhere and you see it at a bootleg table at a Comic-Con. This movie is never happening. So whoever wants to start the release Batgirl movement, him and whatever bots that they have behind them, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen because the whole reason, and if it were for quality, there would be a chance, right? If it were this movie just sucks that bad, maybe in 5 years, we'd be like, let's just drop it on streaming. We have it. It's done. Let's just drop it, right? But because it's for tax write-offs, they can never release it. And you'll never see this film. And it sucks because you know what? I wasn't on fire for this film, but I was interested. You know what got me super excited? Not just Michael Keaton as older Batman taking a Leslie Grace Batgirl under his wing. I was excited to see Brendan Fraser doing something other than being a voice on Doom Patrol again. Like that's
he just did a movie 2 years ago.
I didn't see said movie.
It was not very good.
And I heard it was
the Soderbergh movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched
no sudden moves.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, like there were things that excited me about this project. But yeah, unfortunately we're never going to see it. As far as what we should do and why I don't like the pitch, Austin. I don't like the pitch for multiple reasons. I don't think you can do anything that's going to honor what came before and still forge a path forward. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think there's too much shit that has happened. Really, when we think about the DCEU in general, and I'm removing the Batman, I'm removing the Joker, I'm just looking at Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. You have a decent Superman film, a less than decent Superman Batman film. You have a crap Justice League film, not once but twice.
Right.
You have an okay Aquaman film, and you have a good Wonder Woman film, and then a shit Wonder Woman film. There's just too much crap weighing this property down right now. The only way to move forward is a hard reset. And I don't care. I want Henry Cavill. Keep Henry Cavill. You don't need to explain it. Asking them to explain it is too much right now. Because then that includes time resets and multiverses. They're not there yet. I don't need an explanation. Just release a good fucking movie. Release a good Superman film. Release a good Batman film. Release that will take place in this DCEU. We have a good The Batman film. If you want to use that, great. Use that as your springboard and then, filter in the rest of the DCEU. The Batman 2 has not been greenlit yet. So maybe that is something we do. Maybe Robert Pattinson is our new. But then again, Ben Affleck is in Aquaman 2, so who the hell knows? Like, there's all of this, because of the way they've run their universe so far, there's all this mishmash, 16 different people currently playing Batman. Not just, we had these Batmans in the past. Michael Keaton is currently playing Batman in 2 films, one of which has been scrapped. Robert Pattinson is currently being Batman. Ben Affleck is currently being Batman. So, like, which Batman do you choose? I don't know, right? Like, it's such a mess. You can only do a hard reset and move forward. And as much as I love the actors, like, if that includes recasting, I'm okay with it. Gal Gadot will always be Wonder Woman because she did a really great Wonder Woman movie. That's not going anywhere. Don't don't get me wrong. I would love it. I'd just continue and use the same actors. I don't care. Do a hard reset. Most people will be on board, but I don't think there's any saving this. And the whole JLU thing sounds promising. Sounds great. You don't get Michael Keaton for a TV show. You definitely don't get him for 3 to 5 years. That's just not going to happen.
Isn't he currently doing a TV show right now?
No, he did
No,
dope.
he
He did dope sick.
He did Dope Sick. What was that? A few episodes on Hulu? Was that even a series or was that a movie?
It was a limited series. Yeah.
Okay. So like you get him for a limited series. That's the thing, right? You get Michael Keaton.
They're not going to tie him down to a 2 or 3 year
You're not
contract
getting him for multi years.
Okay.
Not unless you're ready to back up the money truck. He's too good, and he doesn't need to do this shit anymore. Like he's Michael Keaton. Like he's done plenty. Like and he's got a bona fide credits. He can do whatever projects he wants to do, right? But like you're not going to be able to strap him down. You may get him for the first season of a Batman Beyond show, and then you need to figure out what does this look like without Old Man Bruce, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of that kind of setup. So, I don't think that's just being practical. And I'm just telling you guys what Warner Brothers is going to tell me when I present this option.
Right, when they have the
the first thing is they don't have the money. You don't get Michael
Right.
Keaton strapped down for multiple years, and they're looking at a hard reset and just literally we're just going to mimic what Marvel does. And they put out we're going to do a 10-year plan, which is great, which means by 2033 I'll have a decent set of DC films after the past 7 years of me begging for decent DC films. They seem pretty set on what their path is going to be. And that does not include the DCEU. They're still looking for their Kevin Feige. And listen, my phone line is open.
I say, how far into the interview process are you?
You're more than
are
welcome
you
to call me WB Discovery. Like, I'm more than happy. But dollars for donuts, I tell you, tap Bruce Timm on the shoulder and tell him to head up your universe and get him to be your Kevin Feige producer. And that's the only way this is going to work. You need a guy who understands that universe. All the shit that you love about the animated stuff, all the animated films you love, JLU, Batman the Animated Series, it's because of Bruce Timm. Tap that guy on the shoulder and just say, we need you to do the same thing, but in live action, please.
Yeah, now that DC has, so they actually came out on an earnings call and announced this 10-year plan, right? They announced the Marvelification, essentially, of DC. Watching a lot of videos of people who are smarter than me, people who have some really good ideas of like, hey, here's what I would do if you just gave me this thing to be in charge, which is, stay focused on an important storyline that you can do throughout. We are having fun as fans, right? Accepting these side projects, the Joker movie, the Batman movie, these one-off things. So you can do that. But just like Universal did with the Dark Universe, I know, bad example, but hear me out. They put the logo up saying this is something, this is one thing, this is a whole new thing. You just do that for DCEU. This is DCEU, right? And then you can do Other World or Other Story or whatever the DC term is.
Yeah, I wouldn't even do it. I wouldn't even do it DCEU. I would just say here's DC proper, and then when the Joker comes out, you call it an Elseworlds project. There's precedent for that in the comic books, right?
I need something as a viewer to tell me this is canon, this is fun, this is canon, this is fun, right? And just do that. Right. And then I think that the final thing that they need to do is prioritize one character that is kind of like the linchpin to kind of help ebb and flow us through this story. And a lot of people are throwing up either Green Lantern or Superman, right? Kind of altering these things through or driving the ship.
And
that's fine.
And the thing is,
Green Lantern would be great.
Green Lantern would be good, right? Like what you're describing is exactly what Marvel did, which is essentially like Iron Man is your follow through, right? You can't do the big three. The reason behind you can't do the big three is we already know those big three. That we're already invested in them. And quite frankly, if you squint at Superman a little bit too long, he starts to become a very boring character. As much as I love the character, and I do think there's potential for him across multiple movies, he's a god. Like you can't. What do you do? The thing that made Tony Stark interesting and that through line interesting is because it was all playing on his fear of what he saw in old Age of Ultron specifically coming to fruition. Right. And everything he did from that point on was to prevent it, in fact, making it happen, essentially. And, you can't do anything
Supes
like that
can't
with
do that.
Superman. You can't do anything like
Right.
that with a character who is not phased by much, right?
Right.
You can do it with Batman, but let's face it, we all know Batman. We know multiple versions of Batman. You want to keep this interesting, you pick a new character. You do Green Lantern or Martian Manhunter and do it as a fish out of water, new person to this planet type of story. And here's what he's learning throughout his time here on Earth with the Justice League, with these superpowered beings. I think that would be a perfectly fine way to go too. You do your side project crap, you do your Oscar contender bolt BS that I freaking hate, and you go ahead and you slap an Elseworld sticker on it. And that is something that does not take place in the DC universe. And you just move forward that way. I'd be fine with that,
So again, Warner Brothers has a lot to do. They have a lot to consider. They have a lot to go on. While again, we talk about here's what I would do. At the end of the day, and we've talked about this multiple times, don't let the fans run this show, right? Because if you're just going to give the fans control this and the fans dictate this, it's too many people, too many headcanons coming into play, right? Nail this shit down and make it facts. So that way headcanon stops being the thing driving the ship, actual canon and a plan driving the ship.
Well, that's
that's the real important
That's
part.
really what DC has against them that Marvel never did, right? Because no one knew who Iron Man was until the Iron Man movie came out. And so Marvel got to play with a lot of pieces that did not have a huge uproar of, oh, well, I'm a fan and I think this, blah, 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 right? But
who knew I would care about Hawkeye?
Right.
Who knew I would give two shits about Hawkeye?
But, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, everybody knows them. Doesn't matter how deep in the fandom you went. Those were, if I were to walk up to the street in 1992 and say, name 5 superheroes, they would name Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, probably Spider-Man, and maybe one mystery, like Wolverine or something like that. And that would be it, right? So you got a lot of people who have a version of that character in their head. A lot of people who watch the cartoon who like that version. Some people like the Gal Gadot version. Some people grew up reading the comic book and the 16 different versions of her that came from there. And so that is what DC is fighting. And to your point, right? And I said this when we were talking about the Snyder Cut a year ago, or whenever the heck it was. Stop letting fans tell you what to do and just do the thing. Just do the thing. Yep. And you know what? That's what Marvel does. Marvel gets shit all the time. They're already getting crap about She-Hulk. They got a whole bunch of crap about Miss Marvel. And they stay the course.
We don't care. We're going on with what we've got.
Plan.
We've got a plan.
This is what's either you're in for the ride or not. If you're not in for the ride, guess what? There are 18 other Marvel projects coming out this year that you're going to be able to enjoy. This one might not be the one for you. DC, you got to do the same thing.
All right.
And that's be it.
I'm putting a pin. I'm putting a pin.
Thank you. I was going to say we're done too. Yeah.
I'm putting a pin right here, and I'm going to say
I forgot for a second Josh was hosting. I'm not going to
Brian, I'm awarding you a point for certain characters being big screen worthy and certain characters not being big screen worthy. I've said that a million times. Right. I'm giving you 4 points for being realistic, and I'm giving you 3 points for making complete sense to me.
Hooray!
Hey, all right.
Austin, I'm giving you 5 points for the topic. I guess I'll put those in CJ's column. CJ, you get 7 points for arranging Austin's idea and sharing, and then -7 points for having no original ideas whatsoever.
Nope. Right, I accept that. No, it's fair. That's
that
fair.
is 1000% fair.
I know who I am.
Just in this particular, you regurgitated 3 things that you heard online, and I went, well, that's not his original thought. That's not anything at all. So Brian, we can move on to your topic, or we can launch into mine.
I'll go, because I think, even though I didn't give you any prep time on this, I think both of you will, within a few seconds, have some things to discuss. So I was sitting on the couch, me, Max, and Cassandra, and we were like, well, we got some time. Do you want to watch something? Don't really have a ton of time to watch anything, but House of Dragon comes out this weekend, right? As we're recording, actually, it comes out tonight. It drops tonight. And I'm sure we're all going to watch it. I know I am. CJ is not going to because CJ things. Josh, are you going to be watching House of Dragon?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll watch it week to week, but I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
I'll watch it once it's done and everyone tells me it's not the final season of Game of Thrones.
Ah, I see. Well, speaking of the final season of Game of Thrones, so since it was dropping this weekend, we decided, you know what, let's just put on an episode. And and you know what? We give that last season a lot of shit.
I don't, for the record.
I do. I more particularly give the last 3 episodes a lot of shit. Because I think The Long Night, which is the 3rd episode of season 8, is probably one of the best episodes of television I have ever seen. That is the episode where they're defending Winterfell from the White Walkers. Yeah. And it's just the culmination of 7 years. You have everybody you care about on one screen, all fighting together, all for a singular. And it's just so...
Winterfell or The Wall?
Winterfell.
Winterfell. This is the one where you can't see it. That's
right.
Why it's called
the
Long
one
Night.
Drawback to this episode is that it is dark. I usually brighten up the TV just a little bit, but it's still... I remember when I watched that live and my wife and I being on the edge of our seat, like, because it's the last season. Anybody can die, right? And you had some fake outs and you had some moments and just that ending when the thing happens, just legitimately.
There's no spoil.
The statute of limitations on Game of Thrones
past. Just spit it out. Say what you're going to say.
The end when Arya pops up from behind and kills the Night King, right?
Yep.
Literally leaping off the couch and applauding. The first time I've ever done that. Like, it's one of the best episodes of television I could think of. And that got me thinking, what are some other best episodes of television that you guys can think of? If you were to say, this is some of the best television I have ever seen. Not a moment, an episode. And I'll give you a couple of mine just to give you an idea, right? Slap Bet and How I Met Your Mother is probably one of the funniest things in television I've ever seen. Because it's also, again, one of those things that like kind of continues throughout the show, right? That like you get to kind of harken back to and really kind of define the show moving forward.
When they start the slap bet, or like the one where like they end the slap bet?
When they start the slap bet in the first in the third season.
I thought Slapsgiving was better than
the first one.
Slapsgiving, okay, I'll give you that too. Slapsgiving is really good as well.
I think it's called Slap Bet.
So while you're looking that up, I'm going to say the first thing that popped into my head was My Half Acre from Scrubs.
Okay,
that is a good
in terms of like comedy, being amazing comedy. That is when Mandy Moore comes in. That is the Air Band episode. Really, really, really fantastic comedy.
I actually agree with you, but my Scrubs episode that I was going to say was My Screw Up, which is the episode where Ben dies.
Yeah, see, no.
That's a great episode.
It's a great episode of TV.
We all get one Scrubs episode, and then we'll do another show, right? Because I have a Scrubs episode also, but I also have another show.
What's your Scrubs?
Go ahead,
episode?
Ben. Tell me about My Screw Up. Hit yours. Make your case for
My Screw Up again. It's one of those episodes where, you really get an understanding of what makes Dr. Cox tick, and like you watch this one relationship, the only relationship that he puts any stock in, fall apart, and how he reacts to that through JD and through Dr. Cox's. Like, I believe that episode is told from Dr. Cox's point of view. And that last shot of him thinking he's going to the birthday party, it's so gut-wrenching. I tear up every single time. I know it's coming, but I still tear up every single time. And then it's also one of those episodes that you can rewatch and you're like, how did I not see this? How did I not know that Ben was dead during this from this moment on? The clues were all there. Very well done episode of television.
My Scrubs episode is My Lunch. It is the episode in which they are treating multiple patients with organ failure. They're looking for a donor. They find Miss Tracy, who is a recurring character. She unfortunately gets sick and dies. And they're like, oh my gosh, we have the organs. Find out that she died of rabies. And like, what are the odds? You don't test for this. And unfortunately is an unraveling of Dr. Cox because he is emotionally invested in one of the patients. And he's going as hard as he can to get that organ for that patient who necessarily didn't need it right away, but it's here. So he really pushed to get it. And it's a moment where there's a lot of funny and humor stuff that happens at the beginning, but at the end of it, right before everything starts going down and that patient dies, JD gets lunch for Dr. Cox. And it's a change in their relationship where the mentor is breaking down for a moment and JD is building him up and telling him that, things are going to be okay and we're going to have this lunch and we're going to move forward. And that's when he gets the call that his, favorite patient at this point is going to die. And watching not only John C. McGinley's performance, but watching their dynamic, which it gets played with a whole bunch, shift and change in that moment is really powerful. And not suck up points, Josh. This reminds me of a little bit of our relationship that we had professionally at one point, where we get to sit down and flip the tables or take some advice or flip things around. And it takes me back to those moments. No suck up points, really not trying to. But it takes me to those moments. And then knowing that at some point it's been done to me. It is, though, an incredible performance in John C. McGinley's commentary on the episode, by the way, where he talks about how he thought about going through that scene. Also, is heartbreaking with his child and what he went through that needs to channel that. It's just very moving.
You
episode.
watched
So
the
My Lunch is My
commentary.
Scrubs episode. Oh, I watched the commentary too.
I have not.
It.
I'll give you guys 2 more outside of the comedy field, and then if you guys have any more, I'd love to hear them.
Yep.
I'm going to take it before Josh takes it because I have a feeling that he did. And it was ironically enough in our group chat right before we came on to record, which is the West Wing's Let Bartlett Be Bartlett
I
episode.
figured I'd hear West Wing. Yeah.
I mean, this is a group of people who want to make changes in the world, who want to do something, who want just the ability to say, yes, go for it, and get told all day, you're not really doing this for real. Nothing's really happening. Nope. And they're fighting for it, even though they know it's dead in the water. And at the end, there's a confrontation between the chief of staff and the president saying, you're the person holding me back, Mr. President. I'll mobilize every person that works for you if you finally give me the go ahead. And it's the last 2 minutes that this whole episode, you're like, these guys are beaten down. And the last 2-3 minutes of it are the most energizing thing you've ever seen out of that entire series. And Let Bartlett Be Bartlett stands as one of the best West Wing episodes.
I will. I'll share. Do you guys watch House at all, or have you seen House?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So the season finale of season 1, it's called 3 Stories, is one of my favorite episodes of House. It's the episode where he begrudgingly teaches a diagnostics class, and he gives them 3 scenarios. All have the same problem, but all are different scenarios, different people, different origins of what might happen. And he's pushing the team to diagnose this person. Is this person just looking for drugs, or what happened here? This person is hiding something, and he's pushing the class to really think outside the box. And what I love about that episode is not just all the way through this first season, you have this doctor who hates the world, who's got this chip on his shoulder. He's got this limp. No one really knows why. When I say no one, I mean the audience. As the audience, you really don't know why. You're just kind of accepting it, right? And they give little asides here and there. And this is the episode where you find out what happened to him and why he has this chip on his shoulder. And it kind of gives you the idea of what makes this guy, this genius, tick and why he does the things he does. But what I love about that episode is about halfway through, they reveal, oh, this is his story. This is a story about how his leg got messed up. And it starts off with his best friend Wilson being in there and listening to the class. And then after each commercial break, more and more people are just showing up. Then it's his diagnostics team. Then it's his boss. Then it's the whole hospital is there listening to this story and listening to him and interacting with this class. And it's one of those moments that is just how engaging this guy is and why. And you understand why people let him get away with murder in that moment because of the respect this guy demands just by doing what he does and doing his job really well. I love that episode of House.
Yeah. I love the moment too where Cameron's just oh my God. It's
Yeah.
When they had the realization that it's him and they change him in the story.
Yep.
Yep. Definitely good episode of House.
The other one I'll give you is from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which there's plenty of stuff to talk about with Buffy, but there's one episode called The Body. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this show at all. It's in season 5. And what's really interesting about this episode is you spend 5 seasons with Buffy. Her entire shtick is, I fight vampires, I fight the supernatural, I slay demons. That's her thing, right?
Right.
And then her mom dies. and it's nothing supernatural at all. It's just cancer. And she finds the body. That's why the episode's called The Body. And the most interesting thing about this episode is not just the story or anything or the performances, it's the way it's done. There is no music in this episode at all. From the moment she discovers the body, there's no background music setting the tone or anything. You just kind of have to sit there with it, just like the characters are kind of sitting there with it, not knowing how to feel, not knowing what to do. It's a really interesting way to tell a story, and I love that episode. All right, I'm going to let you two share any more you guys have, and Josh, you can wrap it up from there.
Yeah, let me get a couple in there. So obviously I also have West Wing episodes, but I'll just give you one. It's the no, I'm not. I'm going to give you two. The season 2 finale. It's called The Two Cathedrals or Two Cathedrals.
That's a great one,
which is unbelievably good and launches right into obviously Bartlett's re-election campaign at the beginning of season 3. And the season 4 premiere was a 2-parter called 20 Hours in America that was unbelievably good. And like Laura still uses like over my outrage regarding time zones, and she still uses Josh and Toby's freak out.
What kind of society are we living in?
Right,
Just
right,
beating shit around.
Exactly right. So those 2 West Wing episodes, it's really hard for me to narrow down like some of the most meaningful Doctor Who episodes. So I'm going to leave kind of the meaning out of it, and say that 2 of my favorite episodes are When a Good Man Goes to War and The Pandorica Opens. They're absolutely quintessential Matt Smith without any of the kind of the regret towards the end of his time.
I'll give you a little Tennant love there and tell you that anytime I want to introduce someone to Doctor Who, I show them Blink, because it's probably some of the easiest way to digest that show, and it's a great episode of television as well.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. I agree. And then TV episodes that I absolutely could not live without. I think Pine Barrens, The Sopranos episode was fantastic. I think that was the first, or one of the first Michael Imperioli episodes.
Surprised I haven't heard any of The Wire from you yet.
Well, the problem is, man, I mean,
episodes for that. It's a whole.
I dare you to nail down an episode.
Season 1 through 5 of The Wire.
Other like you can.
Yeah, you cannot.
I think you can either go.
Yes,
I've never
right?
seen it.
You can either go episodes or like CJ said, scenes. There's an entire scene with Bunk and Bunk is his name, and McNulty saying "fuck," and that's all they say through the entire. It's like a minute and a half.
They
2
solve
minutes.
a murder just by saying "fuck" for 3 minutes, and it's fantastic.
Any variation you can think of the word "fuck," they've said it. Any different, it's an acting class. It's ridiculously good. There's there's another scene where they sort of Stringer and Joe form this kind of coalition, and the end of this their first meeting, Stringer walks up to like his one of his lieutenants is like, "Are you actually taking fucking notes on a criminal conspiracy?" Like, it was just because the guy, he's like, "Well, no, parliamentary rule said I have to take minutes," and Stringer's like, "Fucking criminal conspiracy, you can't take notes." Shit like that is what I think about when I think about The Wire. There is I don't know if you guys ever watched Elementary with Johnny Lee Miller. And
I've seen a
Lucy
couple
Liu.
episodes here and there. I never watched it religiously.
I highly recommend watching this show. It got me like very quickly and very it was odd how emotionally involved I got with this show and quickly. And the episode, the problem is, like, I can't just introduce an episode without like giving you a million different like spoilers. So probably the one that got away was like season 3 episode 12-ish. Really fantastic episode. I recommend that, but I recommend watching that show just in general. So there's my pieces. CJ,
I
what
thought
do you
of
have?
one more, super quick. Jurassic Bark from Futurama. It is the episode about Seymour the dog. I did not know that a show like that would make me cry as much as I did watching that episode. I love it for so many different reasons, but Futurama has a really good episode.
Futurama
Jurassic
has
Park.
several really good episodes. Idle Hands or The Devil's Playthings is also one of my favorite episodes as well. Awesome. Well, thank you. I mean, we're on the same page with a lot of this stuff, but I thought, while I was watching that episode last night, like, there's a ton of really good television. And you know what's funny? It's not all what I'm finding funny. Not all of it's from like HBO, Showtime. Not like it doesn't have to be like a paid platform. Like there was plenty of just regular NBC cable network shows that we mentioned that have some of the greatest episodes ever. And I'm sure there's plenty more. So honestly, I'll wrap my topic, Josh. Just I'll do you the favor here, and I'll say to the listeners or to Austin if he wants to call in and be angry about my decision to not like his pitch, but also share with us what are some of the greatest episodes of television you have ever seen. Might get me to watch the show, and why is it the greatest episode of television? So I'm looking forward to hearing those.
Fantastic. I award you both 4 points for excellent conversation during this topic. I am not awarding any points or taking any away from your very personal opinions regarding these shows that moved you. They are yours, and I will not be judging that. My topic is, I think, something that I hope I can do sort of frequently when I, if you listen to Brian, when I steal a win because of CJ's poor judgment, when I host, and we can play a game called Change My Mind. And here is
I've already lost.
Here's how it's going to work.
The immovable object here. Yeah, let's see what we got.
I am going to make a statement. I am going to assign one of you to defend that statement and the other one to rebut.
Oh, this is something I had set up for you guys when I host. I have something similar to this.
Well, great minds and whatnot. So change my mind.
Okay.
The Phantom Menace is better than episodes 7, 8, and 9. Brian, defend.
Defend your opinion?
Defend my opinion.
I don't have to. I believe the same thing.
Great.
The Phantom Menace alone, or are we talking just the prequel trilogy in general?
Nope. The Phantom Menace is better. Episode 1 is better than 7, 8, and 9.
So, I mean, it's really easy to kind of break down why the Phantom Menace is better. And it all comes down to the prequels in general, but starting with this film, allowed you to still pay homage to what was about to come and introduce a young Obi-Wan and things like that, but also do so many new things. I know, Josh, when you say this, you're probably not thinking this route, but let's face it, the reason we have Marvel films the way we have them today and the way they're filmed today is because of what George Lucas did with the Phantom Menace. He did a lot of new things with special effects and technology and green screens that absolutely, whether you like those movies or not, completely changed filmmaking for the foreseeable future for a very long time. And we're still feeling those effects today. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, there are so many more likable characters. If I'm going to compare them to episodes 7, 8, and 9, I mean, our affection for the new characters introduced is very it's very much based on the moment, right? Oh, Rey had a great moment. Poe had a great moment. I rarely have heard anybody say, oh, this is my favorite character, unless you are of the age group that this may be your first experience of Star Wars. I really don't hear a lot, with the exception of Rey, which is probably the strongest character in those sequel trilogies. I rarely hear anybody say, I like the movies because of this. A lot of them is, I like those movies because Han Solo came back. I like those movies because Luke Skywalker came back. And then we hear another 3-hour complaint about how Disney screwed up that character anyway. So did you really like it? Phantom Menace allowed us to have a young Obi-Wan who, in my opinion, whether you agree with it or not, Ewan McGregor is Obi-Wan, right? Even more than Alec Guinness was. He defined that role. He is amazing in that role. And you get to watch him and kind of him build that character from the ground up. But really, like one of the main draws for that film is Qui-Gon Jinn, Liam Neeson expertly, like once again, because he'll do it again in Batman Begins, right? Creating this mentor character that you just really love, and you really can get behind this character to the point where we're still utilizing him. We have him in the sequel trilogy. He shows up in Obi-Wan. You know, he's one of those in such a short amount of time, how he can build a character that lasts forever is amazing, right? You also get this entire new world, new scenery. Naboo is a completely different planet than we've ever seen. The Gungans, as much as we hate Jar Jar Binks, the Gungans are unlike anything we've ever seen. And out of all the prequel trilogies, this is the one that has the least to do with trade disputes and more to do with like a Star War, right? And it's truly really good. And you know what? There are things to not like about it. There are things to not like about almost any movie, but there's way more to like about this film. And not to mention that you get one of the greatest villains in Star Wars history outside of Darth Vader, so much so they had to bring him back because that's how good Darth Maul is. And that's how menacing he looks. And that's how awesome his, form of lightsaber battle is. I still play Duel of Fates, also one of the most iconic songs outside of the Star Wars theme, showed up and started in Phantom Menace. I still play that song every once in a while and I just get hyped up. And those last 20 minutes are some of the greatest science fiction battles, space battles, and lightsaber battles you'll get in that series. I am fully on the plane that Phantom Menace is definitely an undersold film in the Star Wars franchise. I think it's perfectly fine. I think a few tweaks makes it even a great film. Whereas with the sequel trilogies, I can't say that. I can't say, a few tweaks here and there and it's a better film, because you have to redo that thing from the ground up for a lot of it.
I'm going to impose going forward. I'm going to impose a
time limit.
I'm going to impose a 60 second defense of my opinion with a 45-second opposition. Okay.
How long did I ramble on for?
I don't know, but it was at least 4 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, but that's fine. I can accept that. All right. So first a rebuttal as to the reason that the Phantom Menace is not great. So you may start the clock. Star Wars has made the Force as a mythical energy field, a source of mysterious superhuman powers. And on episode 1, we immediately strike that down from the original trilogy and say, no, it's little microscopic organisms called midichlorians. And people are born with these midichlorians, and that's what makes your space magic. No, keep it space magic. Midichlorians could be found in drinking water. It removes some of the mystique of what makes the Force actually powerful. Brian, I agree with you. Darth Maul is fantastic. He's in it for a whole 4.5 minutes in this movie. It is not enough Darth Maul, so much so that they said, we so screwed up, we have to go ahead and retcon it and bring him back and do it through animated series and never see him in another live-action movie ever again. So we like this guy so much that we immediately killed him and did a terrible job figuring it out. Also, it is the only Star Wars movie or any movie that I've ever seen where Samuel L. Jackson is boring. He's on C-SPAN, for Christ's sake. He is boring. I've never wanted to see Samuel L. Jackson be as bland as he is in his Capital One commercials, but yet here he is in Star Wars Episode 1 doing that. All right. The new movies are not as bad as Episode 1 because, number one, we're handing off the franchise, right? We're ending some of these stories. And finally, we're wrapping up a lot of this Skywalker family bullshit and trying to get onto other people's stories that are not tangentially related and finally ending this tale that's gone on for way too long. Plus, I mean, if we want to talk about some of the CGI and fight scenes, you've got some really good stuff here, and no one cheered as hard as they did, even with the Darth Maul dual lightsaber, when Finn and Rey picked up the saber for the first time ever and got to see a brand new person using a lightsaber in unique ways. Plus, you got to see Han and Chewie and everything that goes on with those characters finally giving them a resolution to their story and the beauty that happens between Ben and Han Solo at the end when he finally accepts his fate, and when Ben finally turns himself back to them.
They were applauding because picking up the lightsaber was the very first action that was present in the movie, and people weren't applauding Darth Maul because they were
all over the place
because they were awestruck.
That's very true.
Again, Darth Maul, fantastic, and you killed him off immediately
Fine.
and never brought him back in the main
You
story.
Did not change my opinion, although you had some decent points.
I would like to rebut the one point that you made about, we're finally ending the Skywalker saga.
They didn't.
They didn't. Bullshit. They, in fact, walked that back so hard in episode 9, they had Rey change her name to Skywalker.
I have a feeling we're never going to see
I think we'll see Rey again. If we see a movie again.
I think we'll see Rey. But she's not an actual Skywalker. We're done with the actual family Skywalker.
The problem is that, again, I've said this before. I want to be done with that. I want to be done with them, and we're not. We're not.
Well, you know what? Episode 1 was just a continuation of that story again.
It was a pre-ition.
After we did 3 movies of them, we did another 3.
What are you talking about? Episode 1. We did another 3, and we didn't do anything about. Listen,
4, 5, and 6. The original trilogy.
Listen. Those 3 films are not. I don't look at them and see.
It's How I Met Your Mother and Star Wars.
They're not Anakin's films. They're Obi-Wan's. Those are Obi-Wan's films. And yes, it's pitched as you get to see the downfall of Anakin. I know.
Yeah, you got it, Max.
I know.
You're right on the money.
You see it through Obi-Wan's eyes. The story is told through Obi-Wan. It's not told through Anakin. And you see the major point of episode 3 is not, Anakin turned to the dark side. It's Obi-Wan failed.
All right. Yeah. So again, Brian.
Also, I have no problem with episode 1.
Yeah. So, Brian. No,
this is tough.
No, that's why I like this. That's why I like this game. Brian,
you clearly weren't in debate club.
Brian defended my opinion well and earns 1 point.
Huzzah!
Change my mind.
Oh, we're doing another one.
We're doing 3.
Oh, okay.
I have 5. We'll do 3.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
CJ, defend my opinion that any Hobbit movie is better than every Lord of the Rings movie.
CJ's like, I can't defend that opinion.
I don't know. I can defend that opinion.
We're talking Peter Jackson's films, right?
Any Hobbit movie is better than every Lord of the Rings movie.
Well, first off, Benjamin Slappyback just elevates any movie that you're ever in when it comes to that. I also think this. When you look at The Hobbit, right, everyone rags on the fact that it was 1 book put into 3 movies. But if you look at the Lord of the Rings movies, you're condensing so much of the mythology and so much of the story and the relationships that happen into these quick hit 3 movies that you don't really get the sense of scale, right? And they're separated by so much time apart, right, from when they were released, that if you don't watch some kind of refresher or have to do that, you forget about these relationships. And in The Hobbit, they were put together so quickly that those relationships really stayed fresh. And they were able to use the actual, enhancements of technology to make the movie actually look better, perform better. That's how, Smaug actually looks more realistic with it. And you really get the sense of scale as to what is going on in the journey that you get with the Hobbits. Right? You get all these beautiful shots in Lord of the Rings, but you don't know where you are, right? Physically, you just don't know where you're located. And the Hobbit really puts that all together. And if we're talking about prequels being better than all of that, getting the ring, right? And seeing what this is going to do and knowing that there's going to be this transformation at the end of these movies, I think hits a little bit better than just what Frodo goes through.
Fantastic. Brian, opposition, 45 seconds.
All right. So when it comes to The Hobbit is a wonderful story, but it's not told in the correct way. The Desolation of Smaug, and I don't even remember the name of the last one, Battle of 5 Armies, is primarily told through, the Doors perspective, and that's not why we're here. We're here for Bilbo. And yeah, I love Benedict Slappyback as much as anybody, but he is not enough to carry that film through. Quite frankly, the last half of the second film and the first half of the third film is extremely long, drawn out, and boring. And when we talk about in comparison to the books, that entire battle takes place while Bilbo is knocked out. And it's supposed to be that way. And the fact is, we're not supposed to know what goes on in that battle because we're supposed to see it from a place of cowardice like Bilbo. I don't think Bilbo has any sort of character change throughout those films. Whereas in the Lord of the Rings films, if we're just going to, first off, it's filled with amazing characters. You're not just focused on the one hobbits, right? You're focused on not just Frodo, Sam, and Merry and Pippin, but you're also focused on a whole bunch of other characters, and they all have their own amazing journeys.
Yes. Yes.
Most of the characters don't, like Legolas interacts with
Yeah.
Frodo for like 4 lines, right?
I don't. But the point is not if they interact with Frodo; it's what is their journey. Legolas starts off as a racist elf who becomes more accepting of people.
That doesn't change my opinion at all. I don't.
Well, only 45 seconds to change the immovable object that is Josh Burns.
It's not. Well, look, that's why it's a game, and I'm the host, and it can be whatever you want it to be when you're the host.
To be fair, I've never seen the 5 movies. I didn't watch the third Hobbit movie at all.
I mean, it's
I tuned out. I almost left the Decimation of Smaug in the theaters. I checked out.
Brian, defend my opinion.
Okay.
CJ, try to change my mind. That Matt Murdock is not only the best thing the MCU has going for it, but is also a better anchor than Iron Man or Captain America.
How long do I get? 60 seconds?
I am
Brian,
on this opinion.
You have 60 seconds, and you can start whenever you like.
Okay. So Matt Murdock is absolutely the best anchor. Not just the MCU is going to have, but definitely Phase 4, 5, and 6 are going to have because of so many things, but mostly because he is a man of the people. He is the every guy. Even though he does some super heroic things, he is severely handicapped by his blindness. And we can really enter the world a lot easier with him than we ever did with Iron Man, because I'm never going to have as much money as Iron Man. I'm never going to be as smart as Iron Man. He's not that relatable of a character. It worked for the time that it worked because he is Robert Downey Jr. and he's charming AF. I think you have, especially with that Matt Murdock we have right now, you have him. He's still charming as fuck, and he's more relatable as a character. He's fighting down, street level, the things that we care about, and you get to see this world through his eyes. Perfect. You're counting me down, so I'm done.
When you think about the everyman, when you think about relatable, and you really think about who the linchpin of the MCU is, it's Spider-Man. First off, they literally did hand over the Tony Hawk mantle to him. Spider-Man is relatable. Spider-Man does not have everybody. Spider-Man is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in 3 movies fighting things that are happening on the street. As a matter of fact, he even got a churro from a lady. She was very nice about it. Why does Spider-Man wear a mask head to toe? Because it could be anybody, Brian. Anyone could be under that mask. It could be you. It could be your brother. It could be your sister. It could be your neighbor. Could be anybody. Spider-Man is going through a relatable part, too, of growing into these powers and taking on the responsibility and learning and failing through them. While Matt Murdock is doing that, he's had him for so long that he's in there. Spider-Man is everyone's character, and let's face it, a beloved MCU character. He's the linchpin.
So you missed the prompt because the prompt was defend that Iron Man was better.
Well, I did miss the prompt. I asked for it, and I didn't hear. But
Sony owns Spider-Man, so there's nothing you can do about that.
For now,
I was really, and I was just basing it on that Iron Man and Captain America were really the anchor for.
They really were, yeah.
Phases 1 through 3, and that's kind of Brian's defense of my opinion was spectacular.
Mm-hmm. Spectacular. That's a good.
Opinion. That's right. It was also amazing and fantastic.
It was also without fear, so we cover everything.
That's right.
I feel born again.
All of my opinions remain unchanged, though I am giving.
Well, most of them are right.
Yeah, the right opinion.
The Lord of the Rings one, I don't agree with you on, but the other two, I do.
I get it. I can't. The Hobbit movies are so much more fun. I cannot.
They're so boring.
No,
there's a 5-minute barrel ride through a river.
Yes, that's great.
Oh my god, it's so dull.
Man, I will put the Battle of Helm's Deep up against any scene in The Hobbit. Battle of Helm's Deep is much better.
Yeah, but then the movie goes on for another 3 hours.
Because then you got the Battle of Minas Tirith, which is just as good.
Another battle. There's more action. All right.
We're done. We're done with the topic.
Guy lights himself on fire and jumps
CJ,
off.
I'm giving you 2 additional points because I think your points about Spider-Man are incredibly valid. I think he is unfortunately just not.
Business sense wise, we can't do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I wrote an essay without reading the prompt on the SATs. I'm getting some
You can't
points.
hang the entirety of the next few phases on a character that you have no idea what the future is about. At least we know we have Daredevil. And quite frankly, in the comic book, the reason why Daredevil and Spider-Man are such close friends is because they're very similar. They both come from poverty. They both have nothing. They both are everymen trying to do the right thing by the guy on the street. So
one decides to go through the law. The other person decides to, try to take pictures of himself and make a quick buck.
So we have the following. I have at the end of our topics and show, CJ has 12 points. Brian has 14 points. Woohoo! Brian wins and will host our next episode. Guys, thank you for a lot of fun. Thank you for some great topics and a great show. Listeners, thank you for being you. Austin, thanks for the voicemail. We always encourage that from everyone who listens to the show.
And if you would like to be part of that, all you have to do is you can call, text, whatever, 484-373-4119 is how Austin gave us our voice memo. But if you also just want to start a conversation on Twitter, I'm there a lot. So if you actually want to talk to these two guys who are good at it, send the message. I'll get it to them, right?
That's right.
But
yes, I do not use social media.
Right, but hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or the text line, and we'll put your thoughts right here on the air. So thank you, Austin.
All right. So again, thank you for making us your walk around your neighborhood or your drive to work. We appreciate you. We will see you next time.
Well, welcome to the club, 'cause you are that kind of nerd.